Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Cloud ERP. This special edition podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Let's Talk Data podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Frank McGrory. We have a great conversation planned for everyone today. For this edition of the pod, we have our visiting host back again, Terry Penner. He's going to have a dynamic conversation around the latest AI strategy developments, differentiating the SAP AI solutions in Cloud ERP, along with Cloud ERP AI priorities. I will be back as your host in the near future with news stories I'm currently working on. Until then, let's get rolling. Welcome, Terry. Take it away.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast. My name is Terry Penner. I'm part of the SAP Business Technology Platform Marketing and Solutions team, responsible for BTP for S/4HANA. Today, I'm joined by Jürgen Butsmann. Jürgen, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Terry, for having me again. I'm part of what we call product marketing management, and here I'm also concentrating on AI in Cloud ERP, digital supply chain, and finance. And this is the second time that we do a podcast like this, or that we do sessions like this. Very, very keen on continuing that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one we did together had a great number of views and some comments and things. So yeah, this is a follow-up to that. So since the last time we spoke, what's new with AI in the market?
Well, of course, technology doesn't stop. We are getting more and more services which are around, being it document services as well as large language models. In particular, the large language models that we see today are much more fact-based or so. And that is not only for those which have been designed for entertainment like ChatGPT originally, but in particular those that fall under this class that we know from Aleph Alpha, which is focused only on fact-based answering. And we see there's, more and more of these iterations and separate models that are really serving different purposes that are around. What we've also seen is that there has been a price decline for quite some time. So the prices for these services on the market are going down, which of course, make it more and more attractive for being used in the market.
Yeah, for sure. And we've also seen a lot of legal developments as well, where some content owners are trying to remove or seeking to remove their works from the LLMs. For example, we've had like New York Times, a number of other artists as well. So what this really means as well is the importance of having good data that your LLM is based on. How has the ERP strategy for AI at SAP evolved?
Well, it has evolved to become even a bigger emphasis on the strategy overall at SAP. So we clearly see that there's an AI first mentality and strategy that we are pushing forward. That means that we have a very good eye on it, that we see a lot of ideation going on, a lot of implementations for our customers already been pre-made from our side. And we can clearly differentiate the two areas where we are investing on that one. So one is clearly the concentration on what the productivity of the end user is actually about. So digital assistant Joule is now on the market. We do have our first implementations there. Certainly not on a large scale yet, but this really shows that the interaction with the system is changing towards using a digital assistant rather than to use a GUI. And even our CEO, Christian Klein, said clearly that in 10 years, he sees the majority of system users using a digital assistant rather than anything else. So that is it that we have in mind also to focus on the launch of particular other services, AI and generative AI services from that digital assistant. So once you're having a natural language interaction with the system, it's also good to ask questions about those types of intelligent activities which are there. This certainly doesn't mean to be everywhere, but I think that is one of the big points. And the second part is really looking at the end-to-end processes. So besides the front end, where we clearly see our main also responsibility to provide generic solutions and tools for the user productivity and interaction, we also look at the big tickets when it comes to handling the end-to-end processes. So we have started, and we've talked briefly about this, that we have implemented the first processes mainly in the enterprise service management area. But we clearly want to see that it's not about a single function that matters, but all the different technologies which truly make sense to rethink and accelerate the processes in a particular manner is something that we have in a clear focus on our side.
So what are the latest updates to SAP's AI solution architecture since then?
Well, first, one of the big changes is happening how we are developing Joule. Joule in the beginning had a rather rigid and not that flexible, and certainly not in the first place LLM supported architecture. But this is changing now. So we have the flexibility to also create prompts based on large language models support. It is due to the priority and the prioritization that we see there, and that is helping also for the acceptance of using this digital assistant and Copilot for the everyday work. Another thing is, of course, context sensitivity, which we are getting, which is a clear differentiator to any of the other copilots which are on the market, because knowing where you are in your system, in your process steps, and even there in drill downs or in aspects of what you're doing is an advantage that otherwise has to be somewhat given artificially. In our case, we then will know, or already know in some cases, where we are and what the parameters are that we need for executing specific functions directly in the architecture of the Copilot. Next thing is, of course, extensibility. So knowing about the extensibility possibilities, we open this up to the specific cases that our customers want to enable this Copilot to do.
Yeah, for sure. And when you mention about extensibility, that's a key area where Business Technology Platform, BTP, is working together with the ERP team, where BTP is providing the developer experience, some of the developer tools, the vector engine within HANA, for example, to help with those scenarios in the ERP team. So it's a joint effort together. So Joule, we've talked about Joule a bit. Joule's mentioned a lot at SAP. Can you explain clearly to us what is Joule?
So in the first place, Joule is an exchange of natural language commands and therefore just the entry window in whatever is behind it. It is a part of the overall architecture. It does not mean that a case which is enabled by Joule, so where you can use a window to trigger a function to further develop, to read information that you need in the business process. This does not mean that the usage of artificial intelligence and the capabilities which are behind this is utterly different than if you are not using this as an interaction point. But it fits seamlessly into this world, and therefore it makes those use cases a little special. And that's also why we point them out quite a bit. Joule itself, as the Copilot in the first place, is the natural user interaction with the system, and not necessarily as something that enables particular creation of summarization, Gen AI functionalities, or recommendations, etc., which could also well run without Joule. But with Joule, this, of course, is even more fun and even more straightforward.
Right. So we would say that Joule is the front end experience, and that's separate from the back end LLM that's actually powering the AI capabilities.
Absolutely.
One of the questions that I get about AI and SAP is, what's the difference with SAP AI? How should customers differentiate potential AI offerings?
So one priority and this is the main priority, is it needs to be some kind of a measurable value add to the customer. What we also want to make transparent is the relation also to the potential price point. Whether we are using what we are currently using, AI units, or whether we are using something different in the future, we clearly see that our customers do make this kind of calculation and see where is the break even about the usage, the potential value add that they get out of it related to the costs, the investments that they have with those use cases as well. And there is a clear expectation that this is something that can easily be used.
Yeah, and I would add to that touching on what you were saying earlier, not all use cases are valuable enough to apply to AI. What I've seen, I think it's best to focus on the scenarios that have high quality underlying data that's linked to that large language model. So one example that I've seen used successfully is AI searching through support cases and providing recommendations to to new team members, almost like an improved search experience with everybody able to interpret and suggest things better. So Jürgen, how would you explain to a customer how AI can add value to their business?
When we are thinking about how the business processes are getting supported, the first thing that we of course have to look at is the user. So the end user has to somewhat connect to the system, and ideally this is due to a co-pilot, a digital assistant, in our case through Joule. When going to Joule, asking a question, that could reach out to a large language model, which would then hopefully provide the answers back to the system. We are missing in a large language model, of course, the specification of the business processes, because those processes are individual, they are not necessarily clear, so the answer might not really be what you want. So the logical next step could be that we just extend this architecture and just plug on a cloud ERP system, for instance, or other proprietary data. Do we really want to expose data that comes from your proprietary business environment into a large language model that potentially is somewhere in the cloud? Certainly not. How can we actually find the right data to then complete the answers with the proprietary business relevant information that we have in our system environment? So if I'm providing a prompt, meaning a question to a large language model, on the one hand side, I'm not facing any of this specific information. But from a data management point of view, I can clearly also address data that I know that will be requested, can be brought into this, and the address where to find it. So we are using a vector database in order to find the right information that we would need to bring in that business aspect from all of those areas that are outside of the large language models and outside of the process. So how does the full picture look like? If I ask as a user a human language request, first of all, this goes through the digital assistant and would then be translated with the use of a large language model into a technical prompt. This technical prompt is then designed to ask for the right vector engine stored information that would be read. Also, the data coming back can be enhanced with the use of large language models, but we clearly need to also say that large language models used here are either deployed inside of our system environment so that there's no touch point to other sites. So with that, the vectorized data goes again through a large language model. And of course, the retrieval of the data can be enhanced with the use of semantic similarities, such as with RAG patterns, to get to the best possible answers over time. And then after the translation, it goes back to the original user. And with that, we really have the success that we want.
So what role do partners play in this space?
Well, first of all, our partners know our customers very well. What they clearly have to understand from a partner point of view is our setup, our strategy, our architecture, the pricing, all of those elements that are part of how we are foreseeing the use of those services. We can come up with scalable solutions that are really addressing the customer need in the most particular manner. We, of course, rely on partners to come up with individual projects to then tackle those areas. So if there's a particular function that would solve a particular business problem, slightly individually at the customers, then our partners are, of course, the perfect choice to use that. And they have been doing this in the past and already have a lot of those use cases at start.
So what are some of the other AI development priorities at SAP Cloud ERP beside the things that we've heard? And how is BTP supporting those cloud ERP AI scenarios?
Well, what we have is, of course, the aspect of bringing as many users as smoothly to the system. So having a possibility to find their way through a new system is key. Same being able to make the availability to not necessarily the full breadth experts, but still people that can run the processes when they just have enough information, when they get the right explanation, when they get a navigational support in here. And Joule is doing a good job in actually supporting this. We see this, and this can be just one example, and this is the same as what we are doing with large language models. We are bringing in other technologies which are there as well. So the idea to also mingle and fusion with the Microsoft Copilot, for instance, offers us a multitude of possibilities where we can expand on the particular usage of natural language exchange. So that is clearly one of the things. And of course, the environment of the BTP and the area of the AI foundation is the core point where we anchor all of those flexibilities.
So what business scenarios are at the core of SAP's AI focus?
We cannot have a simple focus. What we clearly, though, on the other side see is that finance is an area that really is of a high interest. What we do there currently is to speak with a lot of the businesses, a lot of the customers and partners in order to get an idea about where the main priorities, in particular in finance, are. And here, the idea is to first think about what is it that we can do right now, and the what if we could do something visionary moving forward. And that could be like, for instance, if we have an automatic creation of plans, scenarios, so forecast scenarios that are based out of the history of the data that we have in our systems, could be one thing. So without having all the finance experts at one table, you already have a good understanding, and that can boost the management meetings, the decision meetings, the strategy meetings many times. And there's many other aspects in the different other areas of finance there as well.
Yeah, and we'll link to a couple of use cases as well within the associated document here. So thanks very much, Jürgen, for joining us and sharing your great insights into AI for cloud ERP and business technology platform. It's great to learn from you.
Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully we'll have many people that have a better understanding now where we are heading towards, where we are at this point in time, and how it is useful to use our environment and our capabilities.
Great, thanks. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Terry, for hosting this edition of Let's Talk Cloud ERP. Also, check out other episodes of Let's Talk Cloud ERP podcast to hear directly from other customers on their transformation journeys. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Let's Talk Data podcast for their partnership. We couldn't do what we do without them. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Frank McGrory. Have a great rest of your day.